there were some people who are getting defensive this morning. That is Ron Paul's campaign and Michelle Bachmann's campaign, who are a little fired up because they felt they were shortchanged last night by CBS. In fact, CBS, well, let's read this statement here because this is from CBS.
Well, first, we have to set this up, sorry, Clinton, because this is why Michelle Bachmann thinks she got short shrift, because her campaign caught wind of this email accidentally.
It was an oops email.
This was an oops email that was like a reply-all email from CBS where they had said, hey, the campaign had said, you can have Michelle Bachmann afterwards if you'd like her for your web show. And this is the answer that came back that they were supposed to never see.
They weren't supposed to include this part to Michelle Bachmann. Okay, let's keep it loose, though, since she's not going to get many questions, and she's nearly off the charts in hopes that we can get someone else. That was from John Dickerson to another colleague at CBS there. Unfortunately, Michelle Bachmann's campaign was on that list that received that
So
email.
what she says is that says that they had planned not to give her many questions.
Before it started, yes.
Even before it started. And her point is, I sit on the House Foreign Relations Committee. I am a sitting member of Congress. I have a lot of ideas that I'd like to get out. And why are they setting it up so that I'm not going to get many questions?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, you sort of assumed maybe some of this was happening because I think like 90 seconds was about the amount of time that the Ron Paul camp had to respond also in talks. There's not a lot of time for these guys, and you're sitting there wondering, is Michelle Bachmann even there? Is she going to answer a question? At one point, she even had to yell out, can I answer this? Can I? Remember, she yelled out to Anderson during the CNN, Anderson, can I do this? Well, CBS, of course, fired back with their own email saying this. They said, look, it was a candid exchange about the reality of the circumstances. Bachmann remains at 4% in the polls, but remember where Newt Gignrich was in the polls beforehand. I mean, because of these debates.
Less than 4, yeah.
But yeah, he might have been at 0 in some of the polls. Because of these debates, there's been a lot of discussion that because of the debates, Newt Gignrich has been able to shine, show his credibility, and therefore he's going up in the polls.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ron Paul. In fact, they timed it and figured out exactly how much he did or did not get to speak. And here's a statement from the Paul campaign. Congressman Paul was only allowed, yes, 90 seconds, they say, in actual speaking time in an entire televised hour. CBS News, in their, quote, arrogance, may think they can choose the next president. Fortunately, the people of Iowa, New Hampshire, and across America get to vote, and not the media elites. Again, this goes back to a question you and I have argued about many, many times. Are they just reflecting the polls and what Americans want to see, or are they dictating those polls and what America wants to see?
We have the chicken and egg argument, you and I don't know that we've ever gotten to the bottom of it, but what Ron Paul's campaign says is that he's in the double digits
which
in
he
polling
is in most polls.
in Iowa and New Hampshire. So that it should give him the stage.
Well,
that's enough that says that people are interested in him, and they should ask him more questions and not just relegate him to the sidelines.
And of course, the headlines were about Herman Cain and all of the harassment allegations in the past week. How would he perform? Rick Perry, of course, and his big gaffe performance the other night. How would he come back?
Maybe that's what Ron Paul needs. A scandal.
A gaffe?
A gaffe.
A scandal or a gaffe, and then he'll get some attention.
But I will say this, in those 90 seconds, he managed to make some headlines on his stance on torture and got quite a rousing round of applause for saying that it's immoral, that it's torture, and the audience there really got fired up about it. So in that 90 seconds, he managed to shine a little bit.
Yeah, and that he would not use military force against Iran. So you're right, and speaking very little, he did make some very clear points.
And in fact, that's his campaign's point, which is that he, you could argue, has the most divergent viewpoint up on that stage from any other candidate. And if we're really going to have a national conversation and a dialogue, you got to bring him in because he's the person from the other side. Yeah.
But look, there's been 10 GOP debates. If you were going to move in the polls, you've had the opportunity.
I'm going to argue with you again.
10 debates.
But you got to bring him in. If you're going to
if he's not answering questions and he's there for 40 seconds, then
we'll debate that inside that debate.
No, I mean, I go back to my Newt Gignrich argument. Let us know what you think about it. Friends@foxnews.com. Do you think that it helps to have more talking on these debates? Will it move them up in the polls? There's the email.
All right, let's get to your headlines.